What's going on, guys? So as of recently, I've been reading a lot of Doctor Strange comics, and the reason for that is, like I've said before, I'm trying to branch out when it comes to my knowledge of comic books or my knowledge of comic book characters, and Doctor Strange just happens to be one of them. Now, of course, a lot of people are familiar with Doctor Strange now because of the MCU, and that's exactly what Lionsgate did for me when this movie came out in 2007, and I thought that it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I'm kind of disappointed that we never got a sequel, but nevertheless, I did read a bit more of Doctor Strange. Started with the book I already had, Into the Dark Dimension, was a collection of stories where Doctor Strange goes into the Dark Dimension and he takes part in a rebellion against an evil queen that was ruling her realm. And one of the issues I wanted to talk about the most was issue number 70, where this comic goes into the deeper realms of war and how dangerous and destructive it is. So the comic starts out with Doctor Strange in the Sanctum Sanctorum pretty much doing his magic stuff when his assistant Sarah knocks on his door and tells him that he has visitors, which means this is a question of national security. So after everybody had their meet and greet and the general sent Sarah out of the room, and the general made it clear that despite his orders, he still doesn't believe all this magic stuff exists, to which Strange makes the face that says, yeah, okay. So according to the general, it turns out that some of their military equipment has disappeared and was replaced with something else. Like the soldiers having their assault rifles being replaced with this awesome John Carter looking sword. This tank is being replaced with whatever the hell this is. And apparently this bomber turned into a freaking dragon. And even though the switches are temporarily and they only last for days or maybe even a week, all the weapons that have been returned have shown that they've been tampered with or there's parts missing, which is why the general needed Doctor Strange's help on this. And as if things couldn't get any worse, the general gets a call saying that their silo missile has been taken as well. And not just the missile, but the crew that has been working on it has been taken as well. Realizing the situation has gotten worse, Strange decides that he was going to probe the general to see where this item was taken from. Then he uses his astral projection to go to the site where the stuff is taken. Seriously, the more I read about this guy, the cooler his powers are. And here Strange realizes that it was the Kobarians that are taking the stuff and exchanging them with something else. The Kobarians are a race of orange-skinned warmongers that live in the pocket dimension of Kobar, ruled by the warlord Shane, who Strange has dealt with before. Knowing how dangerous the situation has gotten, Strange returns to his body and then tells the general as well as his assistant that he has to go to the Kobar dimension before he's too late. And I'm gonna be real, I freaking love this artwork. Bro, this is the most trippy thing I've ever seen. So he makes his way to the Kobar dimension, where he sees that the Kobarians are using the parts they have taken in order to fashion new weapons. After seeing all this, Strange decides to get more information, to which he learns that the warlord Chain is working on a big project inside his fortress. That project being? Yeah. And in that moment, Chain and his advisors are forcing the humans to give up the secrets to the missile, to which Doctor Strange swoops in and wrecks the party. But while Strange is dealing with the wizards, he notices that one of the other humans is still in a trance and is trying to activate the missile. So he decides to create a diversion in order to get to that human, which he succeeds, but then it leaves him wide open to an attack. Strange blocks off the attack as best as he can, but one of the blasts destroys a pulley system that was holding up the missile, which causes the whole thing to tumble down with Strange and the workers. And in this moment, Strange uses the Gale forces of Watacombe in order to save the workers, to which he succeeds, but this leaves him open to a sneak attack by one of the wizards. With the sorcerer helpless, it looks like Chain has finally won the day. And as he was about to force the workers to show him how the missile works, one of the workers then realizes that as soon as Strange saved him, he accidentally armed the missile. And before any of them realize it, the missile goes off, taking everything with it. The fortress, the camp, everything. And the words just become more chilling the more you read them. A nearby city was vaporized because of the heat of the explosion, the other half pulverized by the shock waves of the weapon. Trees and forests that have been standing for 100 years being uprooted and burned to ashes in seconds. And it gets even worse. Every combustible item in each village ignites. 20 miles from the blast, each man or beast that has looked on the blast are either blinded temporarily or permanently. And this chilling, terrifying image of where the fortress used to stand, that's where you'll see a mushroom cloud in the sky. And then the dark days that follow are even worse. The survivors that are severely burned are found in a world that there's no food, no shelter, or no hope. Some die instantly while the radiation slowly kills the rest. An entire world destroyed. A scorched and lifeless earth. The next scene is Chain screaming as if he pretty much woke up from a nightmare. See, what happened in that split second when he was falling was that Doctor Strange went into his phase mode, to where he forged a second link between the workers as well as the Corbarians, showing the Corbarians exactly what happens if they use that missile, the destruction and devastation that would happen. To which Chain asked Doctor Strange, "Did you really make us see all of that?" And he said, "I did." And Chain asked, "What we experienced was not a lie? This weapon could truly cause all that to happen?" Strange answers, "It could. And your world keeps many such weapons? Thousands, I am told." Which Chain only says one word after that: madness. Later on, the general gets a call that all the men have been returned, but their minds have been wiped, meaning they won't remember their experience. Strange informs the general that our world's weaponry is in no further danger, and that the man who examined them had a change of heart and wants no part of them or us. And when the general was asking the questions of who was this man, Strange tells the general that his name would mean absolutely nothing to him, and the important thing is that he wants nothing to do with our world, because the man he was speaking of thinks that we, the human race, are quite mad, to which Strange sadly agrees. The crazy thing about this story is that I knew that Doctor Strange was going to be about dimension jumping and pretty much magic elements and all that stuff, and I was pretty much hooked to begin with. But to have an issue where it cautions against the dangers of nuclear war, that's on a whole new level. And it pretty much makes sense given the time that this book was written, where everyone during the 1980s was warning against the powers of nuclear warfare. But to tell it in the most terrifying and most gruesome way, it's just astounding to me. Like, I'm gonna be real with you guys, this is probably my favorite Doctor Strange story ever. But anyway, what stories do you guys want me to cover featuring the Sorcerer Supreme? Or for that matter, what's your favorite Doctor Strange story? It could be something from the comics, TV show, the MCU. Just give me your favorite Doctor Strange moment. Leave it down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.